Hi, I'm Mac McCarthy, and I help people with their breakups. And today we have a great topic: how to save your marriage if your partner wants a divorce. So, my advice and what my take on this might surprise some people, but if you go online, YouTube, websites, and you're looking for information regarding your relationship and getting an expert to save your divorce, just please keep this in mind. There is no absolute formula. There's no absolute formula or factual 100% advice that's going to work. Okay. But in my experience of doing breakup coaching and talking to a lot of different people from around the world, and that's what YouTube does for you, is it connects you with countries, not cities. And so I've talked to people from all over about their breakups, their stories, their different things. And this is what I've come to the conclusion. A lot of people want advice that you would get in a directions manual. So instruction manual where they say, do this, this, and this, and you'll get this. This is what's going to work. If you come across that in a relationship arena for breakup advice, I'd say run. You really got to get in touch with what happened to you and why and what are the problems. That's why I like to tell people to write their story out, send it into writemac.com and talk about it, okay? But if you go somewhere and they're like, oh, do this, this, and this, and you can save your marriage, there's no one size fits all to this. And a lot of people are looking for that, and you'll find it. You'll find it. You'll find it again and again and again. And just be wary of that. I've had clients come to me later on like, oh my goodness. Especially there's some people that just go to people that are expensive or have 100,000 views. And they think because they got 100,000 views or 200,000 views and they charge $400 or $500 that it's going to be golden advice. And a lot of times it's snake oil. It's fool's gold. That's the feedback I get. You want to talk about your problem, send in your story to writemac.com, book a live coaching session with myself. Or go to someone else, but don't go to someone that's promising you the world. Okay? Don't just, I've never seen it more than this last year. I'm getting clients, coaching clients, and I still stand by, if you want to do a coaching session and you don't find it useful or helpful moving forward, I'll refund you. I've never refunded anyone. I always ask them at the end. But honestly, it's like, people are coming to me right now and they're paralyzed by the choices that they have. Oh, should I do this? Should I do that? Should I do this? This paradox of choice. And the reality is, I'm going to get into my core advice for most breakups. And this would apply to if you're trying to save your marriage in a divorce situation. And the topic that I came up with today, this is a search topic that's very popular. Okay. But the advice would be similar if you were in a breakup. So, quote of the day, I will get to the chat in a minute. If you guys have any comments, questions, throw them in the chat and I'll get to them. All right. So, let's get into it. So, first of all, there is no true formula or approach that will save your marriage. If your partner is really done or just wants out, it is what it is. Okay. So just from the get-go, I want to make that crystal clear. There is no true formula or approach that'll work to save a marriage every time. Okay. That's something a lot of people don't want to hear that. They don't want to accept that, but it's important to understand that. Okay. If you watch a video that says, do this, it works all the time or every time, it's just simply not factual advice nor good advice. And by the way, most advice is opinion-based, hypothesized-based, okay? And so do your best, but just know, like, it's not going to be 100% foolproof. In some cases, no matter what you do, your partner will divorce you, and you'll have to find a way to accept that. Acceptance is the first step. It doesn't feel good. It's not something that you like. It is absolutely vital to you moving forward. Now, before you get to that point, the first goal to get crystal clear on why they want a divorce. If it's one problem or multiple problems, define the problem or problems. Now, people will come to me and go, I don't know why. And then when I talk to them and they tell me their story, I can see very clearly the person stated their problems with you. And you just don't want to accept those problems, or you just want to say, yeah, I'll fix them in a day. Now ask yourself if this problem or problems are fixable. Okay. Are they even fixable? So in some standards, you're like, I can't change that. For example, someone says, I hate your mother. Literally, like, I can't deal with your mother. Most males or females in a relationship are not going to get rid of their mother to save their marriage. That's not fixable to a lot of people. And the next step, if you find this to be a problem for you, is this a problem one you want to fix and actually see as a problem that is hurting the relationship? For example, if someone is an alcoholic and their partner has just had enough, the problem is clear, but the individual has to identify it as a problem too before they can start rehab or go to AA. The other variable involved with this is the possibility that your wife or husband is just done. They can't forgive you for what you've done or become, and they don't want to go through the process of fixing this. Okay. So even if you identify the problem, you say it's fixable, there is a possibility when the person goes, you know what, there's too much wreckage on the road. I don't even want to go through the process. That's a possibility. But before you get to that possibility, you do need to know the problem. Is it fixable? Do I accept it as a problem that I want to fix? Are you with me? And in many cases, if someone's coming to you with a divorce, they probably don't believe you're capable of change. If this happens, you'll still want to be working on yourself. Excuse me. If this happens, you'll still want to be working on yourself and your issues, because there's a good chance any new partner you pursue will have the same problem with you. So what do I mean by that? Whether this person leaves you or you meet a new person, if it's a really big problem, it's probably going to come up again. So you better get out in front of it. Okay. Now, there are some instances where one person just gets tired of marriage and becomes bored with it. This isn't always fixable unless both want to work on it. I'd say if you are discussing divorce, a couples counselor or couples therapist is a good route to go, but don't expect them to save your marriage, only to shed light or hold space where you both can be completely honest. In many cases, marriage counselors don't save a marriage. They just allow for clearer communication with a referee for what went wrong and where each person stands. If you choose to get a marriage counselor, don't hesitate to interview a few before deciding on one. It's best to find someone you're comfortable talking to and that is not taking sides. The reason I mentioned not taking sides, if you let your partner pick the marriage counselor, or the marriage counselor already has some history with your partner, there's a good chance that that counselor could become a little bit biased. So just keep that in mind. In closing, if you are confronted with a divorce, do your best to listen to what they are saying. If you feel highly emotional, it may be good to take some time alone or with someone close to you to fully digest what's going down and why. Okay. If you act on anger or emotion in the moment, there are some things you can't take back, and apologies won't fix it. There are many people that will cling to the final conversation to validate their decision. What you say can and will be held against you. And if you choose to beg or promise to make things right, this in most cases will be shut down, as the individual that wants a divorce took time to build a case on why they want out. It won't work just to say you're going to change or that you're sorry. And sorry won't fix it unless they have a large amount of pity for you, but that usually wears off. All right. I'll be getting to it a little bit deeper. Okay. Number one, accept what your wife or husband is saying to you and listen to them. Okay. Even if you don't like it, just listen. If they are not being clear on why they want this divorce, ask direct questions. Don't beat around the bush. Don't say, well, I think you think this. Say, let me ask you something. So you're saying if we fix our money problems, if we're able to come out of that, this would change the relationship. So let me ask you something. Are you saying this? Let me ask you, tell me what the problems are. And do you feel like they're fixable? That's a great question to ask. Don't beat around the bush. Don't be passive aggressive. Your goal in that conversation is to get crystal clear on what the problems are. Number two, get clear on what the problems or issues are if they can be fixed. Do not try to fix them in a day or attempt to say sorry 1,000 times. This is a shortcut. It's an insult to your partner's intelligence a lot of times. And it's you just trying to make the boo-boo go away. Be honest with yourself. Resurrecting a marriage will take time and work, not sorry and I'll change. Number three, if someone is seeing someone else, back off. Get space to digest this info and be around those that love you most to support you. Do not carry on living with them. Do not ask to make it work or compete with whom they are seeing. This will only drop your confidence and create a situation where you'll be out of character and walking on eggshells. If they say they want to make it work or try things, then be clear that they end the relationship with that other person immediately. You do not want to put yourself in a situation where you go from husband or wife to competing with someone else. Like I said, you're going from playing on the ball club to being the water boy. And that's going to hurt your confidence quite a bit. It's going to make you act differently. And so if someone says, hey, I've been seeing someone else, this is why I want a divorce, going immediately into trying to fix that is not a good move. You need some space. You need some time. You need to be around people that love you. You need to talk to probably a therapist or a coach like myself immediately to get it off your chest. That is not immediately fixable. And if the person is coming to you, telling you that, and they want to work on things and they're ending that immediately, then maybe you can start there, but you still need some time and space to digest that, because that is one of those ones that really hurts. And it's not going to just go away with words and questions. Number four, I'd highly recommend that if the divorce request is a shocker for you, you're surprised, it came out of nowhere, then go to a therapist or coach immediately. And the reason why is because this is kind of going to be like PTSD. There's going to be some traumatic stuff here, and you need to go to someone immediately to talk about it. You need someone to talk to and air out your feelings. Don't just go to anyone for this. This is very important, because not everyone knows the right things to say, and they can hurt you worse. Doesn't mean they're doing it intentionally. It's just they're not trained in helping you out. And so they can say something like, oh, I never liked your wife anyways. I thought she was a slut when I first met her. Ha, ha, ha. And this can just floor you to the ground. Or they can say, oh, I always knew she'd probably leave you the way she acted. These are the things that friends and family can say off the cuff because their feelings aren't involved and they're not trained or talented enough to deal with this kind of stuff. So don't put yourself in that situation. Keep it 1 to 2 people to share everything with, and make sure those people are understanding, caring, and dare I say professional. Like I said, a therapist or a coach like myself would be a starter point. And it's not, when you get a shocking request for a divorce and it came out of nowhere, this isn't going to cure you, but it's a good start rather than going in every different direction, being highly emotional, impulsive, doing things out of character. You need to tell your story to someone. You need to be heard out. You need someone on your team. You with me? Number 5, someone that wants a divorce has built a case why. They won't be easily talked out of it. If you can accept what they've told you with respect and can walk away in the moment, this in most cases would be best. This is actually attractive. And it actually will surprise the other person quite a bit. They need to sit in their decision and really feel it. The minute you counter their decision, they get in fight mode. They dig in. They want to restate their reasons. If you say, you know what, I've listened to what you had to say, I respect it, I don't really want to talk about it right now, or I don't agree completely, but maybe we can revisit this at another time. I need some time and space to gather my thoughts. Okay? Especially if it's a shocker. Do not wean them off the marriage or make yourself an option if things don't work out without you. Okay? This is a big one. Do not put yourself in a position where, like if you need more time, but I'll be there for you as a friend. I'll help you move out. I'll do this. I'll do that. If you're doing that, you're weaning them off the marriage. You're putting yourself in a position as being lesser than the person that they fell in love with. It's pathetic. I know where it comes from. It's desperate. It doesn't mean you need to be a jerk or an asshole, but it's not going to get them back. I know it's counterintuitive. If they want it, you say, hey, look, if you need to pick up your things this weekend, I'll be out of the house. Be reasonable, honest, neutral. And if you can't be that way around them, be honest with yourself. And like I said, seek out a therapist or a coach immediately to get down to this. The quicker, the better. Number 6, if you have to sell your house or split assets, do it. Find 3 lawyers to interview and pick the best one. The minute you interview a lawyer, they can't choose the same lawyer. Do not give in to be nice or in the hopes that they will get back with you. I've met many an older man that after a few drinks goes into tales of his wife getting the house to take care of the kids, only for her to have a new boyfriend she never married so she can get alimony, and then she cashes out the house 2 years later. I've come across this many times. I left the house for my wife, then she sold it 2 years later. Be fair. I think putting your kids first is incredibly admirable and good. But when you're on ground zero and you are splitting up the assets, if you want to be a good guy, or you think it'll get you points down the road, or you think maybe this will get you back together, don't do that. Once you get to the nitty gritty, get what's fair coming to you, because later on you'll regret it. Once you get a lawyer, take their advice and do what's best for you in the moment. And if you have kids, yes, put them first. But if you plan to treat your ex-wife well in divorce court, just know she's not obligated to treat you the same. And in most cases won't, or vice versa. Okay. Number 7, if you live close to her and it's killing you to run into her all the time or see her so happy, move. This is a big one. Oh, I got an apartment around the corner. Oh, I kept the house and she lives down the street. If you can't move for some financial reason, plan it out a year away when you save up. Don't be around them. And if you have to, take different routes to work, different routes around town. This will repeatedly trigger you and put you back into a trance state of, I had this guy before. They were married 20 years. It was absolutely brutal on him. He was 20 plus years. I could feel the emotion in his stories. He'd ask me for help desperately every time. They had kids. He felt she turned the kids against him, and he lived down the street. And he just couldn't accept that she was done, and he was doing everything wrong, begging, pleading, desperate. She doesn't understand. It's going to take time. And he wouldn't do a live coaching session. He just kept wanting to email his story in, and he didn't want to get to the nitty gritty of it, get down to his feelings. But if you live close by and it's hurting you, move a town over. Number 8, do not follow her on social media at all. Just don't do it. Okay. I can go into this 100 times. It's absolutely poisonous to your soul, to your recovery, and go on to social media fast, do whatever it takes, but just stay off social media. You have power to do this. People say, I can't. You can. Number 9, to recap, saving a marriage starts with identifying the problem or problems, then deciding if they are fixable, then deciding if you want to fix them, and actually if your partner wants to fix them also. That's the core of it. Okay, if you want a basic template, that's it. Now, here's the variables. Sometimes people don't want to fix the problems. Sometimes people don't think there's a problem. than actually going to work on the problems without a guarantee they will come back. So the alcoholic that goes to rehab, that goes to AA, the individual is not guaranteeing if you go through with this that you'll get them back. You're doing that for you. And if they come back or they work with you, it's a bonus. The alternative to this is financial leverage. Okay. So there is another alternative, and it's very common in divorces. If there's a large amount of finances involved, okay, and someone has a certain lifestyle and there's a prenup made, or there was something in the cards that, let's say someone makes 20 grand a year and the other person makes 150 grand a year. And even though you're going to get some alimony or these things, your lifestyle is going to change quite a bit. There is leverage for someone not wanting to get a divorce over financials. It's just how it is. Call it gold digging, call it shallow, whatever. It is. People will use that. I've seen it many times again and again. Someone will not want to get a divorce because they like their house. They figure, oh, maybe I can keep the house. And then when they find out they can't keep the house, they think about working on the marriage. I've seen this before. Okay. So I'm just going to reference, I'll get into the chat in a minute. I'm going to reference a few stories from the past that come to mind with marriage and divorce situations. The one that comes to mind, a client of mine that lived in Vegas, and he had a 9-year marriage. They had 2 kids under 3-4 years old. They were young kids. Loved his wife, said he had incredible intimacy, and she just hated and despised his mother, whom he was very close to. And we did many live coaching sessions. He aired a lot of things out. And honestly, the wife had issues with her mother, and she was projecting that onto his mother. His mother was in no way a bad person or did bad things, but her mother had did bad things to her, and she had a lot of issues from childhood she never addressed. And then they came out when the mother of him was the grandma, and she wouldn't let her around the kids. So they constantly fought about this. He tried to work on it. Finally, he started seeing another woman. One thing leads to another. And then he goes, hey, man, I'm going to leave the house to her because I want my kids to have a house, but she can't have a new boyfriend. She can't have any man live on that house. I'm like, look, I like what you're doing. I like the fact that you're going to leave the house to the kids and you want her to have a house. Waddy, waddy, wah. But the reality is she's going to start seeing someone else in a year or two. And if you think you can build that into the package of the divorce, it's just not going to happen. He ended up seeing someone else. He ended up getting his own house. He ended up moving on. A very strong individual, confident guy, good with women, wasn't low on confidence. But again, he had it in his head that he still can control the narrative after the divorce with the house because he was the breadwinner. And this was a classic case where I'd say, you know what, make it as fair as possible because she's most likely going to meet someone else, and that's going to be really hard on you. There was another individual I knew. This is the leverage, the financial leverage, where basically he was a stay-at-home dad while his wife was making really good money, and they had 3 kids, and he was taking care of the kids. And one thing led to another, and the wife basically was like, look, I'll keep the house. The kids want to stay with me. You should probably get an apartment. And he basically just went, look, we're splitting the house. I'm moving away. I'm not going to take care of the kids any longer. I'm not going to take that responsibility anymore. And I'm going to go after you for some alimony because she made more money. She was shocked. She was absolutely shocked. And they worked on it, and they're still together today. That's leverage. She thought he'd move out into an apartment, still pick up the kids, still be Mr. Mom, and that, he would be the bigger person. Maybe she could buy him out of the house. He was like, nope, you're not buying me out of the house. I'm taking half. I'm going for it all. And then I'm going to move away. And this guy was a really strong character guy, and she believed him, and they worked on it, and they're back together. Now that's one of those ones where he decided to go for the gold. There was another client of mine, was your classic, and I've come across a lot of guys like this that were married 20 years, 25 years, 30 years. And he said his wife was absolutely a great wife, a great mother, and he had no complaints in that department. But the last 4 or 5 years, she just stopped wanting to be intimate, and they just stopped having sex. And so he said it was hard on the kids because I'm sure he didn't give those details to the kids. And he said they stayed friends after the marriage, and they both got a boy. She got a boyfriend. He got a girlfriend. He ended up not working out with the girlfriend. That's how I met him. But they split everything right, and they were very concrete on the problem. The intimacy she just said, I just don't want to sleep together anymore. So that problem wasn't fixable. He said literally for 4 years, he was saying, hey, can we fix this? Can we fix this? And so when the problems can't be fixed, someone has to make a decision to either deal with it or move on. All right, we got 11 on deck, 3 likes. I'm going to touch water on the live stream real quick. Gain NYC video at 208. Okay, thanks for that, bro. Very excited. Almost 1 month, no contact. Congratulations, Miguel. It's been a long time coming. Yeah, I got horrible advice. You're talking about from other coaches. Miguel has done a few live coaching sessions with myself, and he's told me about some pretty bad stories about what some other coaches have asked him to do. Unbelievable. Sex with God. Mac offers hypnosis, more like guided meditation. It really gets you to understand yourself and how to save yourself with grief and hurt. Thanks, Sex with Gods. G Money, thank you. Divorce courts won't grant divorce automatically before trying to save the marriage by counseling and other forms of saving the marriage. Is that true in certain states or just everywhere? I'm not familiar with that. Brand new Skinner, yo. What women want, Valiant Thor. Okay, I'll just call you Thor. What women want is never really surprising. How they get there is where all the surprises are. You know what's interesting is doing what I do and talking to people, I really can listen to people and pick things out and just see where people try to make points or be manipulative with their words. And people are more manipulative than they think. When they want to get their way, the way they craft an argument or a point or set someone up, it's amazing. And a lot of people don't see it, right? Because love is blind. But people are always building a case or conveying a message in a way that gets them their way, whether that's a negative or a positive. Counselors and coaches will help you to compromise with one another in the power struggle stage and teach both of you the dynamics of the stages. Thank you, Sex with Gods. All right, so I do have some stories on deck. Let's get into that. Coach Mac, here's my story. I broke up with my ex 2 years ago. And 3 months ago, we started dating again. She's 31 and I'm 39, but she can be really immature in some ways while being mature in others. Okay? So she's a 50-50 on the maturity scale, huh? That's interesting because we talk about personalities and stuff, but people are situational. Like they'll surprise you in certain situations. I remember there was a girl I was dating that was really strong, independent, smart, and she was absolutely horrified of spiders. And it just was a surprising thing. My example of that is because people will surprise you. You know, there's Navy SEALs that are scared of spiders, right? And so when you say she's really immature in some ways while being mature in others, it's how human beings are. They're situational. We broke up 2 years ago because she constantly wanted to borrow my money and use it for frivolous days at the mall and salon. I'm not a greedy guy, but when money got tighter, she didn't seem to understand that I didn't want to give her money to just play at the mall. So right there, you have a situation where you probably did it before. She's probably, her dad or her caregiver or her past boyfriend probably treated her to things like this. And so she now finds it to be normal and expected. And the minute, what gets interesting is there's a lot of guys that be like, no problem. I got the money. I'm happy to, spoil my girlfriend. And that's up to the individual and depends on how much pockets he's got, right? On the flip side, if it's out of your morals and values or the fact that like what she's buying, you find useless or incredibly wasteful, well, then that's a problem too. So what really becomes reality is when you start to say no and the reaction you get, right? Overall, I believe in taking care of your woman, but she had no grasp of money at all. She had a low-paying job that she liked, but she'd often tell me that she doesn't care about money, which I thought was interesting because everyone needs to care about money. It's required for living. I would agree with that. The idea that, someone uses in their argument that they don't care about money, yet they want to borrow your money or use your money to do something. That would be immature in in your 30s to just not care about money overall, to not want to be too serious about money, or to not value having a high paying job in lieu of doing something you love to do. That's admirable. The idea that you just don't care about money, and the way to supplement that is to live off your boyfriend extravagantly. Careful how you make your bed, man. And this is the thing. If you don't get out in front of this, it'll just get worse and worse and worse. I would venture to say I would look into how she was raised. Was her mother or father spoiling her quite a bit? Because you're not going to take that away from her. Often I'd treat her to dinner or give her money to help her out her mom, but it just never seemed like enough. And honestly, she wasn't overly extravagant. It was just like a teenage kid complaining to mom and dad for more money to spend on stupid stuff. God, that sounds horrible for a 31-year-old. Finally, we broke up over it, and she cited me being way too serious about money and that she would never do that to me and that it's not real love to her. Well, she'd never do it to you because you're not in a position to borrow money from her because she doesn't care about money, and so she doesn't make money. The idea that it's not real love is a cheap move. And this is exactly what I was talking about as far as manipulating a narrative or a story to fit your argument. So the fact that you don't want to give her money to go to the mall proves that you're not really in love. It's pretty twisted, and that is immature. Then she broke up with me. We were only together for a year, and I always kind of thought we weren't a great match, but she had some things I really liked about her. She was sweet, kind, didn't drink alcohol at all, didn't do social media. Wow, those are rare. That's a unicorn, man. And also never gossiped about people. I mean, those are pretty cool things. You don't mention what your attraction is on a 1 to 10. I'd be curious about that. I'd be curious if she was a 10 on the attraction level, if you'd be like, it's okay. She was overall very positive and caring. It just felt like when it came to real world adult conversation, she was like talking to a kid. You said that more than once. And if she's 31 and she acts like this, there isn't a adult school that's going to, make her grow up. We crossed paths 3 months ago, and the attraction was immediate. We went to dinner that week and shared our new lives, and things went well. She still had the same job and was doing good. I, of course, paid for dinner, which was my pleasure and something I'm always happy to do. Then she made a little sarcastic comment asking if I wanted her to pay for her meal. So she hasn't let it go. I knew what she was getting at, too. We ended up hooking up that night, and it was good. And from there, we saw each other almost daily for the next 3 months up until now. But there would be these little tests where she'd ask me to buy her something, and then she'd say, "Don't worry about it. I know how you are about money." See, that would be annoying as hell. So basically what she's doing is you can't win. And she's controlling the fact that she's not in touch with the fact that she doesn't make a lot of money, but she likes to spend a lot of money, but she feels guilty about asking you for it. So before she can feel that way, she wants to make you feel guilty. People want you to feel what they feel. Are you with me? And to be honest, at this point in my life, I'm much more financially stable and can easily afford her mall trips. But it's just a point of making backhanded comments. Then when I confront her on it, she just changes the subject and doesn't want to talk about it, which was her style before. Again, that's highly immature. I can see she hasn't really changed, and I believe I have the ability to now support her better. But I'm coming to realize, even though I'm currently making $150K plus a year, good for you. Maybe you want to book a live coaching session. I don't want to spoil her just so she can continue to make shallow comments about me being serious about money. This is basically our only problem. But when I bring it up to her, she's so mature about it. And just like the first time, I can see it leading to a breakup. As this time around, I've been much more generous, but it still feels like it's not enough for her. And the big problem was, I don't mind giving you money, but I'm going to ask what it's for, and I do have a right to say no. Overall, I'd say about 60 to 70% of the time I say yes, no problem, And even then, she'll sarcastically respond by saying, "Are you sure you don't want? Are you sure? Or don't worry about it." After I've already approved it with no problems. See, this is going to drive you nuts because in her head, she has it that you're cheap with her. And so she wants, like I said, she wants you to feel bad about it or guilty. She probably doesn't even know she's doing it. And this is her way of communicating. She probably used this method to get her. And this is like a spoiled child. This is like a spoiled teenager. She's ran that playbook on a father figure or a mother figure, and now she's using it on you. This is how kids get their way, right? Then she'll go on how she promises to pay me back everything. Have you seen anything like this before? Not exactly. Your story is a little bit different. But yeah, there's always a money issue. This is a value thing. Like, she obviously wants a guy that will provide her with money without asking questions. And, if she wants money or she wants something, she just expects to get it. But in lieu of that, she probably was raised this way. And so she feels like this is how it's supposed to be. And then the little, well, don't worry about it, or fine then. Like I said, that's her acting out her teen years in communication. And she's not realistic by the fact that she doesn't care about money, but it sounds like she doesn't have a job that makes a lot of money. It's a conflict right there, isn't it? Is this something we can work on, or is there a way to get through this to her to hear my side on this? If you had already been broken up over this before, it sounds like she still believes it's true about you, and really she's treating it almost like a little game. Like, well, I know I'm going to make you feel guilty about it. But reality wise, I would venture to say deep down, she's embarrassed to keep having to ask for money. So instead of being honest with herself, she makes you embarrassed. That's why you get these backhanded comments or guilt nets. And it's just not going to go away. If it was there 2 years ago and now you're even more financially flush and more generous, and she's still throwing it in your face from the get-go, it's going to be the same problem all over again. This is one of those cases where you can't win unless you just want to keep giving in and giving her money and apologizing and saying it's okay. Maybe you give her an account, with $100,000 in it. But there's like I said, there's plenty of men out there that would give their wife or girlfriend full carte blanche to spend money. And if she's good looking enough, she'll get one. It's not going to make her happier, though. And eventually the guy will get irritated if she's buying cheap items and doesn't really have a purpose outside of that. See, that's the thing. Like, if that's what you do in your free time, that would be my question. Is that what she does in her free time, is go to the mall? Does she have some outside hobbies that are impressive? Does she exercise? Or is it just frivolous pleasure at the mall, having fancy desserts and doing shopping? That if that's her way of having fun or letting her hair down or having a free day, and that sickens you or upsets you or is a way that you think is a waste of money, it's not going away. So you could break up now or you could break up later, but it's coming, unless you want to just sit on your hands and, well, actually put your wallet on the table and just let her take it. I mean, as a couple outside of this, we are pretty good, and she's very loving outside of this. Well, everything's a trade-off, man. So, there's plenty of guys out there that would be like, this is not a problem. It's not a problem. I would take care of her, especially if she's a good girlfriend, but it's up to you to decide what you accept and what you don't accept. And the fact that the same thing's happening all over again sounds like it's not something in your value system, dude. So, it's not a horrible thing, but it wouldn't be as bad if she wasn't throwing these guilt nets on you, afterwards. But the reality is, you don't like giving her the money. She uses it for bad things. It's not going away. Accept it or don't accept it, but you're not going to fix this. You're not going to communicate it out of her. Like I said, this was instilled in her at a young age. She feels deservedly vindicated by asking for money like this. All right. There is one more shorter story that came in. Coach, I'll just get to it. Sorry, I'm not a great writer, but I'll do my best. I was dumped 5 days ago by my now ex. She was seeing someone else, and I caught her seeing this guy at a parking lot of the gym we both go to. Wow. We go at different times, and I was alerted by one of the staff that's become a friend that he thought my girl was seeing this guy at the gym and that he saw him in the car together. So I staked out a position in the parking lot and caught her in the act, making out with the guy at hand. I've actually come across this before where I don't know if it was a gym or a restaurant where someone blew the whistle and told someone, completely good Samaritan, I suppose. But this can happen. You know, someone can step in and go, wow, this is dirty. I'm going to say something. I probably wouldn't get involved with a stranger. I certainly would if it was a good friend of mine. But that being said, this is Karma 101. I almost went up to the car, but thought to myself, I'm going to end up in jail. So I called a friend and he told me to leave and come over to his house to talk because violence doesn't solve anything. Plus, I'm on probation. Very good move. I'm glad you included that. You don't want a silver linings playbook situation. And, you know, you go to jail if you hurt someone bad enough. So you did the right thing in that moment for sure. So that night confronted her and she lied about it, then told me I saw someone else. The next day she broke up with me, claiming she couldn't be with someone that was jealous and created lies to support this issue. I told her I saw her in the car. She looked down and then half looked at me and said, that wasn't me, you're crazy. When people look down, they're usually in shame, body language wise. I think she's always been a liar to outside people, and I know she's always likes to call in sick to work, or sometimes she comes up with creative stuff, and I thought to myself, how do you lie like that? Now she's doing it to me. How people treat other people, you're next. You're next. Now, 5 days later, I miss her, but I'm also wondering, when is she going to come clean? As I saw her again with the guy in the parking lot, this time I went up to her. So you're still trailing her? Stop trailing her. You got your evidence, man. She lied to you directly. This sucks, but you don't want to double stamp it. You don't want to put yourself in another situation where you're, putting your hand through a window or something. But I'm also wondering when she's going to come clean, as I saw her again with this guy in the parking lot. This time I went up to her and she told me to leave and that I didn't know what I was talking about. How does one proceed in this situation? I want her to admit what she's done and be sorry. It doesn't seem like she's that kind of person. So it's just like a lot of people always want me. A lot of people always want me. Oh, I want closure. I want closure. Sometimes you're not going to get the closure you want. The closure was finding her with someone else. Okay. That's what it is. The closure was she's a liar. Now, how do you proceed? Move out and start moving forward. It's going to hurt. This one shocked you. You caught her cheating on you. It's not going to be easy. Book a live coaching session with myself or a therapist and really get into your feelings. Talk to someone, but don't stick around. Stop wanting closure or explanations, because if she lied to you directly, she's just told you who she was. If she's already seeing someone in the parking lot at the gym, you got what you needed. Now, you got to stay out of her presence because it's going to hurt you. It's going to trigger you. It's going to make you upset. Nothing she can say at this point is going to make you feel better. It's probably going to make you feel worse. So stay out of her wake. Stay off social media. And I would highly recommend that you change gyms. I don't think it's a weak thing to change gyms. I think that if you continue to go there, it's going to hurt you. And this is one of those individuals that seems like she cares a lot less than you do. Stay away from her. And the fact that you said like, oh, she lied to other people a lot before and she's creative, she's just going to continue to spin them. All right, folks, let me get into if there's any more comments to touch on. Bro, I feel like some days, but I miss her so much. I want her to break up so bad. I feel like I'm in a war. I think war's a lot worse, Miguel. Miguel, you should book a coach session with Mac. He'll really help you out. Just don't piggyback someone else's video. He really does help. You just got to jump in instead of dipping your toes in the water. Bro, I'm contributing. You'll see once Max coaching, you'll want to contribute. Okay. Yeah, Miguel's also a client. All right, we got 5 on deck, 5 likes. I appreciate you all. It's been good. It's been great. I'll be on deck tomorrow, 11 a.m. Thanks for joining. Skinner, it's been good. Sex with Gods, Miguel, G Money, K and NYC, keep being you. And it's curtains, folks.